Let's talk more about these Army Games with Aurel Braun. He's Professor of International Relations and Political Science at the University of Toronto. Professor, you heard what our correspondent Jessica had to say, that the West sees these exercises as a soft power play, as Russia perhaps flexing its military might. What do you think about that assessment in the West?
I think it is correct. I mean, this is really about politics. It is an attempt to burnish Russia's image internationally, that Russia is at the center of the international system, and also to demonstrate that Russia is not isolated despite the sanctions leveled at it by NATO states.
Is it unusual for nations which are normally considered foes, like Israel, might face off teams like Iran and Egypt? How unusual is that?
It is unusual. I think Israel is participating because they want to maintain good relations with Russia. I think there will be only very limited encounters between Israel and some foes, such as Iran, and that will be in the case of the field medicine rally. I do not think they will be competing against Syria, but it is symbolically important, and this is what Russia tries to convey, that they can provide a forum where even international foes at least are present and their flag flies at these events.
Can this be compared perhaps to RIMPAC Navy drills that brings together countries from around the world every year?
In some ways, I guess it can, but we have to be very careful with Russia. Sports and politics are one and the same in Russia. Moscow spent a vast amount of money on the Sochi Games, the most expensive winter games in history. And that was because of the political goals that they had. The World Cup, again, was very expensive. Russia is not a wealthy country. Its economy is stagnant. It is spending huge amounts of money, and it is to enhance Russia's international image and domestically to convey the message that Vladimir Putin is respected, that he is in charge, and that he is a world statesman of the first order.
What do you make of who is invited this year? It seems to be only 6 nations: Algeria, Vietnam, Sudan, Myanmar, Pakistan, and the Philippines. Why not invite more countries to take part?
Well, I think countries from the NATO alliance would be rather reluctant to take part. I think when you list the countries that are invited, these are, by and large, not shiny examples of democracy or the most highly developed economies in the world. And in a way, it sort of tells us that Russia is able to get friends over. It pays a lot for these games. It is a grand circus, if you like. But it is not getting the A-team. It is getting countries that are not at the center of the international system. Myanmar, the Philippines are not exactly the heavyweights of the international system, with the greatest respect.
And some of these training grounds will be taking place outside of Russia. Some might be taking place in China, Armenia, Belarus, Iran, and Kazakhstan. How much of a logistical and political challenge will that be?
The logistics are manageable because the main events are taking place in Russia. But I think politically the message is that this is broadening out, that Russia is attempting to make this into an international event, that other states are eager to participate. But the reality is that this is largely Russian funded, and it is central to Mr. Putin's attempt to create the impression that Russia is a superpower, where in fact, except for its nuclear arsenal, it is not.
Professor Aurel Braun, thank you so much.